Today I will show you my high gain tone in the AxeFx 2. Nowadays I'm playing mostly the FractalAudio AxeFx 3, which is the newest version of this modeling unit. But also I got the older versions, the AxeFx 1 and AxeFx 2, and I know maybe a lot of you ladies have the AxeFx 2. So today I would like to share my latest preset for the AxeFx 2, which I used. Of course it's a high gain preset, and I opened the editor here, the AxeFx 2, and we will have a closer look now at the details. As you can see these blocks are activated. I'm using an amp block, which is the Atomica High, and I'm using the cab stock IR, the 4x12 Uber V30 by Redwires, and a little bit of reverb delay in my lead scene, which is the scene 2. Scene 1 is basically the same sound without delay, and sound is what you already heard in the intro, this. By the way, I'm playing my Harley Benton Fusion 2 guitar in this FBB Flame Bango Burst or whatever, with a ebony fretboard. There's 2 Roswell humbuckers, Floyd Rose 1000 series bridge, and everything stock. And back to the preset. So as I said before, I'm using this Uber V30 cab, which is stock in the AxeFx 2. I didn't do anything in the pre and drive section of the cab block. Also I don't use anything here in room or air. What I do use usually is a low cut, and as you can see here it's set around 76 Hz. Sometimes I'm using a high cut too, but this may come especially when I'm playing in loud volumes, so chances are good that I will lower the high cut maybe to around 5 or 6K when I'm playing live. Let's see how that sounds. I don't know if you can hear the difference, but in a live situation you would hear it, and the sound is more mid-focused if you lower the high cut. So this might be good for playing loud volumes as far as feedbacks are concerned, and also it's not so harsh in the top end. But anyway, for live use I wouldn't set it that low. For recording use I wouldn't set it that low, so I leave it now at 20K. And other than that, I didn't do anything to the cab block. The other important block is of course the amp block, and as you can see I'm using the Atomica High amp model, and I didn't do anything fancy here. You can see my settings. Presence and that is rather low. Reduce the mids a little bit, and yeah, set the input drive quite high. If I disable the drive block and also the parametric EQ in front of the amp, which I will explain in a second, the sound is more or less like a crunch harsher tone. And I did something in the graphic EQ. As you can see here, I reduced a little bit of the 800 Hz using my favorite graphic EQ, which is 7-band variable Q equalizer with Marshall amps. And I reduced a little bit in the lower mid-range here, the 200 Hz and the bass frequencies. In the preamp section I didn't do anything, and also I didn't do anything in the other sections. In front of the amp I'm using a drive block and then a parametric EQ. In the parametric EQ I'm basically cutting the lows and highs, as you can see, because this guitar is, especially with the Roswell pickups, it's a little bit aggressive in the top end, so I like to reduce the top end a little bit. But I do this actually with most of my other guitars too, also with other pickups, because I find most pickups seem to have too much high end for my taste. So as you can see here, the frequencies for the low and high cut are 270 Hz, 17 Hz for the low cut, and for the high cut it's around 2K. And the slope is also not so high, so usually I leave it at 0.7 and then start with this, and then I'm starting usually to experiment with it. But as you can see, if you raise it too much, then it will emphasize the crossover frequencies. So if you are using the parametric EQ like I do to cut highs and lows, also if you're using it after the amp, which I don't do in this preset, but you can use the Q knob to maybe emphasize these crossover frequencies a little bit more. So in other words, if you're cutting here around 200 Hz and you feel the overall signal has a little bit too less bass, then you can raise the bass frequencies right above the low cut a little bit with the Q knob. Also I raised the overall level of the guitar about 8.5 dB. And in the drive block I'm using my favorite standard Tube Screamer 808. And as you can see here, this Tube Screamer is maybe I will set it back to the stock settings. As you can see here, the Tube Screamer is basically pushing the mids between 700 and 900 Hz, because it has a low cut 700 Hz, high cut at 880 Hz. You could also use some these knobs to push some other frequencies, but I don't do that now. As you can see, it's all at 0. And what I do is set the drive to 0 and level to max. Of course, also mix to max. And in the advanced section, I didn't do anything to it. So it's basically stock. Maybe I should reduce the Q here again. I'll set it back to 700 something, and also here. For those of you who have seen my AxeFx 3 videos, usually I'm using the input EQ in the amp block in the AxeFx 3 to push some 800 Hz and maybe cut some frequencies below the lower mids. But the AxeFx2, as you may know, it doesn't have this dedicated input EQ in the amp block, so I have to use the parametric EQ in front of the amp. Also, the drive block in the AxeFx2 is not that flexible like in the AxeFx3. But other than that, I have to say the tone quality is similar. It's not a very big gap between the AxeFx2 and AxeFx3 as far as high gain tones are concerned, in my opinion. Especially if you're using the same IR. So, these are the most important blocks. Also, I'm using the multiband compression to reduce some low end when I'm chugging, and as you can see here, only the lowest band is working. As you can see here in the threshold, it's set at minus 37 dB. The other thresholds are at 0, so that means basically the compression is not working in these bands. On here, it's reducing the frequencies below 350 Hertz. If the threshold is reached, it's that should be the case when I'm chugging with this frequency. When I'm playing the chords, it doesn't do anything. And finally, I'm using the reverb block with my favorite reverb, the London plate. And the thing with the reverb is usually I'm not the biggest fan of reverb as far as recording and live use is concerned, but when I'm playing by myself, I like to have a little bit reverb. For me, the most important thing is that the reverb is not too bright. So usually what I do is I cut the reverb drastically in the highs. As you can see here, I set the high cut at 1.6K, and then it doesn't change the sound of the guitar, but it creates a nice maybe room-like feel. That's my basic high gain sound in the AxeFx2. In the scene number 2, I have the same sound with a delay. And in the delay block, I'm using the TC Electronics 2290, and well, how is it set? Set around 500 milliseconds, and it's basically kind of a ping-pong delay, switching from left to right. I don't know if you can hear it. If you are listening stereo, maybe. Other than that, I didn't do much to the overall signal. The other things you can see here, these parametric EQs, they're set flat. Basically, I use this this output when I'm using a 4x12 speaker with a power amp, in combination with the direct signal that goes to the front of the house. Sometimes I do it in a rehearsal space, but it's just for fun. Because usually I'm playing with in-ear monitors, and I'm going mono to the front of the house. This is this signal. Don't know what the wah block is doing here. Usually should be there. And the second signal here is going to my in-ear. So this is basically the in-ear mix, and that's my solution to EQ my in-ear guitar signal a little bit. It's also flat now, and I will change these settings depending on the environment and the live situation. So what you are hearing here is basically this signal chain with these EQs both set flat. And this is a spillover delay. As you can see, it doesn't have a dedicated input. If I'm coming from another preset with a delay, this will like this, create this spillover effect. So I hope this helps you to get the best results with your AxeFx 2. It's a great unit, and honestly I was always very satisfied with the results I got with it. I didn't have the need to get the AxeFx 3, but of course I'm a guitar nerd, and I just bought it, and of course I'm playing it a lot now. But always when I turn on the AxeFx 2, I'm still happy with the sounds I got from that unit. And yeah, I think if you don't have the money to get the AxeFx 3 now, or the FM3, I definitely recommend to look after use the AxeFx 2. They're quite cheap now on the used market, and they're still great units. You can play direct to the front of the house. You can play and monitor yourself with in-ear. You can use it as just as an effects unit in your live rig with a real amp, and they're fantastic units, and still I think one of the best modeling units on the market. So keep yourself healthy, and if you like the video, please hit like or subscribe, post your comments below, and see you soon. Bye.